TIFU by telling my young daughter that she had a feral sister who lived in a cage in the attic. This happened a few years ago. My wife travels a lot, which means that when my daughter was about 6 or 7, the two of us would have lots of nights together, playing games or reading before bedtime. One time we were sitting on her bed before sleep, about halfway through a book, when I suddenly closed it and said to her, "We really love you. I'm so happy it worked out with you. Not like the other one." She looked at me. "What do you mean?" "Well," I said, "parenting is hard and you don't get much practice, so sometimes you make mistakes. Take your sister, for instance. Before you, we had a young girl and, well, it just didn't work out. We were young, didn't know what we were doing, and it did not go well." My daughter just stares at me and asks, "What happened to her?" "Well," I said, "we didn't really know what to do with her, so we just locked her in a cage in the attic and started over. And lucky we did, because that's how we got you." Then I opened up the book and started reading again, as if I hadn't just dropped a bombshell on her. Of course, my daughter had lots of questions. So I just improvised facts about her sister, Maggie, who lives in the attic. She can't speak English. She kind of grunts and sings, like that Jodie Foster movie Nell. She's violent, and we have to slide her food to her with a stick. We've become worried lately about some of her drawings. You know, fun stuff like that. My daughter knows I'm full of nonsense, so she doesn't really believe it, but kind of wants to, you know? So we come up with all these stories about her sister in the attic. Sometimes when we're reading, I'd stop, look up at the ceiling, and whisper, "Shh. Did you hear that?" Probably nothing. Then just keep reading. One time she asked what she should do if Maggie ever got out. Now, what I didn't tell you is that the door to the attic, it's in my daughter's room. LOL. "Well," I said, "if she ever gets out, just lie still under your covers. She's not mad at you. She's mad at mommy and daddy." A few weeks later, I'm working as a lunchroom monitor at her school. It's this volunteer thing where you help little kids open their milk and stuff. My daughter's sitting at a table with her friends and they call me over. One of the girls, Colleen, looks right at me and asks, "Molly says she has a sister who lives in a cage in the attic. Is that true?" Now here's where I really fucked up. What I should have said was, "No, that's just a story we made up." What I actually said was, "I don't know," while smiling and shrugging, basically suggesting that maybe there is a kid in the attic. Didn't think much of it at the time. A few days later, I come in from walking the dog and my wife tells me the principal wants me to call her. Oh, crap. I know what this is about. My wife says, "Oh, she probably wants to talk to you about the ice cream fundraiser." I'm thinking, no, she definitely does not want to talk about the ice cream fundraiser. So I call her and she says something like, "Hi. First off, thank you for helping with the ice cream social. So one of our students' parents called and said they're worried because, oh, this is silly, I know, that you're keeping one of your kids in a cage in an attic. That's not true. What is it?" So now I have to explain in detail this entire ridiculous story, which out of context makes me sound like a psychopath and the world's worst parent. Luckily, she was super understanding, and we both nervously laughed it off. The worst part? The girl who told her mom was someone whose mom actually knew us. She'd been to our house. We'd driven places together. She could have just called us instead of calling the principal. The outcome was good, though. We actually became great friends with the principal and her husband afterward. We even celebrate our second daughter's birthday every year on May 10th. And sometimes we even sign cards from her when we send things as a family. TLDR. I almost had child services show up at my house because of a story I told my daughter about an imaginary sister in the attic. After another student told their mom, and the school called to check if I was keeping a kid locked up. TIFU by drinking an entire bottle of Louisiana hot sauce at a job interview in a failed attempt to be impressive. I have had a number of job interviews recently that went poorly and did not result in securing employment. I started to think maybe I needed to do something during an interview to really stand out. Be impressive, unique, highly memorable. I knew it could be risky, but I thought, hey, maybe it might work out. I came up with the following idea. After concluding the interview, after the handshakes and all that, when leaving the room, I'd stop, turn around and say, "There's one more thing you need to know about me." Then I'd pull out a bottle of hot sauce, down the entire thing, slam it onto the ground and proudly say, "I can handle the heat," nod confidently, and leave the room. Boom! I imagined they would be so impressed, so amazed by my performance. Well, it didn't exactly pan out like I thought it would. It was only a small bottle of hot sauce. I figured it wouldn't be a big deal. I should have tested it at home first, but I didn't. I was nervous as hell during the interview, but determined to follow through with my plan. So, as I was leaving, I turned around. Maybe not with as much swagger as I'd imagined in my head. And I declared, trembling a bit, "There's one more thing you need to know about me." I pulled out the hot sauce bottle, almost dropped it, started to open it. In my head, it was supposed to be this quick, confident motion, like Indiana Jones or something. But instead, I fumbled around, struggling to get it open. It felt like an eternity, probably only 20 seconds. But long enough for one of the interviewers to ask, "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. Instead, after finally getting it open, I repeated, stuttering, "There's one more thing you need to know about me." Then, I chugged the entire bottle of hot sauce. Instant regret. My mouth and throat felt like molten lava. I started gagging, coughing, tears streaming down my face. I was sweating like a fool, a burning, terrified fool. I tried to scream, "I can handle the heat!" But all that came out were choking noises. The interviewers were standing there, frozen in horror. And then, it happened. I threw up, all over the floor. It hurt just as much coming out as it did going in. Maybe worse. It felt like flaming barbed wire shredding my throat. Fiery mucus was leaking from my nose uncontrollably. When it was over, I couldn't even look at them. I croaked out a hoarse, "I'm sorry," and stumbled out of the room as fast as I could. I have never been more ashamed in my entire life. I didn't get the job,